Okay, good evening, everyone. We're here in Agafai Desert Oasis Eating Lodge. And we want to thank Rabbi Harakiah for putting together such a beautiful dinner and trip. And we have this chus to have, there's a sefer. Tomorrow we're going to be in Marrakesh. And in Marrakesh, there's a cemetery, an ancient cemetery that was in great disarray. And the son of Rabbi Yaakov Hillel, Rabbi Yosef Hillel, came, and for many years he was able to identify the original location of all the kvarim, and he had it refurbished. And in that sefer, they quote one of the chachamim who helped him with his work, Chacham Yosef Safin. He's in the sefer. Yeah, seriously, he's one of the chachamim who's credited with helping with that sefer. So it's zchus to have Chacham Yosef over here.
Woo. Great.
Okay, so we spent some time in the desert. There's an amazing Gemara that talks about a scenario of what do you do if you're lost in the desert and you lose track of time. You don't know, is it Sunday, is it Monday, is it Tuesday? One of the days is going to be Shabbos. You don't know, is it today, is it in a few days, is it in 3 days? And the Gemara brings various opinions. Do you count today as Shabbos and then count 6 days? Or do you count 6 days and then count the 7th day as Shabbos? Ultimately, the Gemara says you count 6 days and you count the 7th day as Shabbos. The Gemara goes so far as to say, what do you do on Friday? The Gemara says on Friday, and then the Gemara says on Friday maybe you should work twice because you're not going to be able to work on Shabbos. The Gemara says if you don't work on Shabbos then you're going to die. It's not going to help to work 2 days on Friday, 2 days worth on Friday, because Friday might be Shabbos and you're desecrating Shabbos 2 times. The Gemara's conclusion is you basically work every day the bare bones minimum for whatever you need to survive for that day. Since every day might be Shabbos, you have to be concerned for the possibility it's Shabbos. So you work, let's say you only need 10 grams of food, you could work for 10 minutes, earn enough money to buy 10 grams of food. You have to treat every day as a possible Shabbos. And then the Gemara says, so what do you do on your 7th day? The Gemara says you're mekadesh it with kiddush v'havdalah. You make kiddush and havdalah. And the poskim discuss, do you make a bracha? Do you make a bracha on the kiddush? Do you say it without shemu malchus? The Ritva brings an opinion, you actually make kiddush v'havdalah. In other words, the idea that this 7th day is Shabbos is so fundamental, you would possibly, according to some Rishonim, even be allowed to make a bracha. So the question though is, the likelihood of the 7th day being a Shabbos is very low. You really don't know what day it is. You have no idea what day it is. You don't have like a hunch. The Gemara is talking about a scenario where you honestly have no idea, is tomorrow Shabbos, is in 2 days Shabbos, is in 3 days Shabbos, is in 4 days Shabbos. So what is this idea? You count 6 days and you're mekadesh the 7th day, but in all likelihood it's probably not Shabbos, and you're going to make kiddush and you're going to make havdalah. So the Chida brings down a very powerful idea. It's also brought in the Reishis Chachma of Rabbi Yehuda that Shabbos is a source of vitality for the Jewish soul. And therefore, Sunday is nourished by Shabbos. Monday is nourished by Shabbos. Every day has Kedusha Shabbos in it. Shabbos spreads its influence on the entire week. There's an element, there's a component of Shabbos on every single day. So therefore, in a scenario where you don't know exactly when Shabbos is, you have the halachic right to declare this day Shabbos, because what you're doing is you're highlighting the element of Shabbos in that day, you're embracing it, and you're halachically allowed to make kiddush, make havdalah. You may even be allowed to make a bracha, because there's a certain truth, there's a certain reality to the Shabbos that spans the entire week. That's, a very beautiful idea. We say that Talmidei Chachamim, the Zohar says, are on the level of Shabbos, which means that we all aspire to be connected to Shabbos the whole week. I'll say something, the Avnei Nezer would say that when Sarah Imenu passed away, Yitzchak wasn't consoled until Rivka came, and then it says he takes her into the tent, and Vayinachem Yitzchak al Sarah Imai. What was the nechama? We know that on Sarah's tent, by the way, did you ever hear this? Women don't drink from Havdalah. Right? Women don't drink by Havdalah. Now, it's a very misunderstood halacha, because if a husband isn't home, women must make Havdalah and they need to drink from it. They don't have to worry. Nothing's going to happen to them. Doesn't bring any bad luck. It's just a custom that when all things are equal and the husband is there to make Havdalah, then you don't drink from Havdalah. You know what the reason, where does the minhag come from that women don't drink from Havdalah? So I'm going to explain. In the tent of Sarah, the candles remain lit the whole week. The bread was fresh the whole week. The anan was on the anan. The cloud was on the anan. Sarah's tent, it was Bechina Shabbos the whole week. The reason why the bread stayed fresh is because it was always Shabbos. The reason why the candles remain lit, it was always Shabbos. So women aspire to be on the madrega of Sarah. They don't want to be mavdil from Shabbos. They don't want to cut themselves off from Shabbos. It's brought, Rabbi Yosef Chaim Zonnefeld has a haskama to Shaus Tshuvas Pu'ula Sacher, or Rabbi Sacher Dav Teichtal. And he writes, the reason for the minhag of women not drinking from the Havdalah is they're aspiring to be connected to Shabbos the whole week. So by showing that they refrain from drinking from the Havdalah, it shows they want to be connected to this day the whole week. But the truth is, we are always connected to the day. Every day we say, Hayom Yom Rishon b'Shabbos, Hayom Yom Sheni b'Shabbos, because there's an element of Shabbos in every single day of the week. But there's also another very important message here. The Reish Chachma says that when the Gemara talks about somebody who's lost in the desert, that somebody is us. This world is like a desert. And we sometimes get cut off from our real civilization. And what's the real civilization? Olam haba. You know, how often do we forget that the purpose of this world is for Olam haba? You know, we're here on the trip, and obviously it's very enjoyable. And we sometimes, we get lost. We get lost in this world. We become so focused on it, where it takes over our whole reality, and we forget about the Yom Shekulei Shabbos Menucha L'Chayei Olamim. So the Gemara tells us, if you're lost in the desert, meaning you're lost in this world, and you forgot about Olam Haba, you need to treat every single day as Shabbos. Meaning, you need to imagine in your mind, well, what if I was in Olam Haba today? What if I was in Olam Haba tomorrow? What if it's the next day? You need to bring Olam Haba back into your life, where you value and you treat every day as if you're in the Yom Shekulei Shabbos Menucha L'Chayei Olamim. In other words, when the moment comes that you feel a disconnect from Olam Haba, you need to, so to speak, realign yourself and start to treat every single day as if you were in that promised realm of the world to come. And you make Kiddush, you're Mekadesh it. In other words, that becomes the highlight of your existence. So, when you go into the Midbar and you think about the scenario of somebody lost in the desert and they forgot when Shabbos is, it's, so to speak, a little bit of a reality check. It wakes us up a little bit and it reminds us of the Yom Shekulei Shabbos Menucha L'Chayei Olamim. Shkayach.